afternoon, good evening, good morning. We have got a new president in the White House. He's only been there for something like 6 weeks. And yet, he has rocked the boat. There cannot be any doubt about it. Here is his speech to the Senate and the House of Representatives.
America is back.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
Upon taking office, I imposed an immediate freeze on all federal hiring, a freeze on all new federal regulations, and a freeze on all foreign aid. I renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government. I've created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Perhaps you've heard of it. Perhaps. Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president. DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service. We need Greenland for national security and even international security. And I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it. We are going to forge the freest, most advanced, most dynamic, and most dominant civilization ever to exist on the face of this earth.
Yeah, the American dream is unstoppable. What do you think, Benjamin?
Good day to you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Uh, this was to be expected of Donald Trump when he won the election. We knew there were going to be some very controversial decisions, volatility in the markets, and it's with Donald Trump anything is possible, basically. So, for me, I had said brace for anything. And here we go. Six weeks, like you said, in it, we have seen major, huge, decisions being made. Some controversial, some, good, bad, and ugly, if you can say. Yeah.
I think the important thing here to note is that some of the things that he is doing, for instance, the issue on tariffs, he is literally tearing up the rule books. He's not negotiating, he's just imposing the tariffs. What you are saying about Greenland, we'll get it one way or the other. This is just somebody who is just flexing his muscles. And when you've got very huge economic and military muscles, you can flex them. What is tragic about that whole attitude is that this is tearing up the old system where everybody believed in the rule of law. Now is mighty is right. And in a world where mighty is right, it is a very dangerous world. This issue with tariff, for instance, is going to have a serious effect on world trade. And those countries, the developing countries in Africa, which is most of Africa, when there is instability in the world economy, invariably, those with the weaker economy will feel the effects even more. Somebody once said that when the developed countries catch a cold, those in the developing countries will start coughing blood. And I think we are in for a nightmare here. Benjamin. Sorry, we have just lost Benjamin there. I don't know what, he may have some technical problems. The other big issue that this Trump administration is posing to those of us in the developing countries is that his arrogance is emboldening the tyrants in our part of the world. There's no doubt that Trump has emboldened the Russian president and the rest of tyrants the world over. If he can tear up the rules, I think our thugs and despots the world over will feel they too can do the same. And it is very, very unsafe for those of us in the third world countries. Already, countries like Zimbabwe, we are finding it very difficult, for instance, to have free, fair, and credible elections. Because, among other things, of the interference of big players like China. China has disrupted Zimbabwe's political development ever since the country's independence. China has helped ZANU-PF to stay in power and has reaped the benefits. And now, when there is no rules, one can only imagine that countries like China will feel emboldened to interfere as they see fit. So we are looking at a situation here where countries like Zimbabwe, holding free, fair, and credible elections is going to be near impossible. Welcome, Benjamin. Sorry you dropped out.
Sorry I had technical issues there. You know, they say, you know, when two elephants fight, the grass suffers the most. And in this case, the grass would be, you know, the ordinary person out there, the developing countries. And you're very right there, you know, when you say you look at tariffs. Tariffs obviously means that whatever you are buying or, you know, importing has just become extremely expensive by just the declaration of, you know, of Donald Trump. And, you know, he has gone to make decisions like stopping foreign aid to countries like, you know, for example, Zimbabwe, who were actually, you know, basically I could say who were running on donations. Now you have just opened the gates for some unscrupulous players to come in there and offer aid at returns that, you know, are unimaginable. You know, if we can no longer get, you know, help from countries like America, the next best thing is to go to our look east friends, and in most cases that is China. And we all know that China will give you help, but they have certain conditions, and these conditions mainly have to do with mineral rights. They want an open check to those minerals. And God forbid, you know, it's very, very difficult to think how much they are going to want to charge us for this help, because on ourselves, you know, we have failed. For example, Zimbabwe, it has failed to look after its own people. It has failed to provide medicines for its people. It was, you know, waiting on these handouts from the US aid, basically. Now it's at a cost, and we hope, you know, government will be able to negotiate, you know, better. But we know how our government is at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, like I said, when the elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. It is the consumers. It is those that are, you know, living in developing countries that will obviously feel the pain at the end of the day. So it's going to be a very, very difficult time, you know, as we go, you know, through this Donald Trump phase or presidency, if I may say. We have to pull up our socks and you know, put our act together for us just to survive this length, you know, of the presidency at least.
Thank you very much, Ben. The truth of the matter is, I think the world order has been changed. And unfortunately, it will take time to settle down. And even when it does, some of the things can never be turned back again. I think those of us in the third world countries, we will look back to the years when we had the opportunity to put our houses in order, and we wasted that opportunity. Because now it's going to be even more difficult. This turbulence has forced not only America, but the rest of the world, rest of the developed world, to start looking more inward. What is in the best interests of the country, of the individual country, to the point of saying, damn the rest, everybody else. You only cooperate with the rest of the world if you have to. That is the attitude. And in third world countries, where the leadership is easily corrupted, these developed countries will come in and sign deals knowing fully well that there is corruption, there's mismanagement, but if it is in the individual country's best interest, they'll push that. They will ignore the reality on the ground. This is what the penalties of ignoring rule of law. We are now talking of if you are mighty, you get away with anything and everything. And that is really, truly frightening, particularly in those countries where there was no rule of law. Because the economically stronger nations will take advantage of those weaknesses and will be helpless to do anything about it. That is the tragedy here. I think the nightmare of Donald Trump's presidency for us in the third world countries has only just begun. It's going to be frightening. We don't know how we're going to survive the 4 years. It may help the developed countries who can adjust and cope with the rough seas ahead. But those of the weaker countries, we haven't got much leeway to cope with the turbulence. I think we will pay dearly for it. As I said, the developed world are having a cough. And we, in the developing countries, we are already starting to cough blood. God help us. Thank you very much. Those who were able to join us, hope we'll be able to do it again tomorrow, 6 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. Good night.